folks, and welcome to the Santa Clarita Valley Leadership and Business Solutions Podcast. I'm Paul Raggio.
And I am Lisa Raggio, and we are with One True North Leadership and Business Solutions in Santa Clarita. And we are here today, tomorrow, and in the future to help you find your way. We are so happy and proud to be partnering with The Signal to be delivering this weekly webcast to you, where we guarantee authentic conversations with community leaders and find out more about what they're doing and why they're doing it and how we can learn from it. And I'm so excited that we're able to talk to Sonia K. Blake today, who is the president and CEO of the Valley Economic Alliance. We have a lot to learn from her. And we're going to introduce her in a few minutes. I'll read her bio and we'll have a conversation. But before then, Paul, tell us a little bit about some information our listeners should hear from us.
Yeah, we've got a great offering that we really encourage you to take advantage of, and it's called a business health checkup. And it's an opportunity for you to be able to sit with Lisa and me, and we go through a long questionnaire about the health of your business. And we talk about what your potential pain points are. We get into business development, talk about your marketing, sales, your customer service. How do you do your planning, whether it's a 90-day plan, annual plan, strategic plan? And then we also talk about your budget and your financial forecast and what may come out of that. All of this is intended to expose some areas that you may be challenged in or need help to help your business scale. So we encourage you to get in touch with us to take a hold of it. It's about 60 to 90 minutes long, and it's of great value to you. Lisa, let's introduce our guest.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we are really excited to be having Sonia K. Blake join us today. And we've gotten to know Sonia over the last few months and really respect the work that she's been doing with the Valley Economic Alliance, which has a long and strong history in serving the San Fernando Valley. So I'm going to read you her bio, and then we're going to get into our discussion. So Sonia K. Blake is the president and CEO of the Valley Economic Alliance based in Sherman Oaks, California. In this capacity, she is a leading catalyst facilitating economic development in the San Fernando Valley, a vital and burgeoning region of the city of Los Angeles comprising 5 cities, 1.9 million residents, and 64,000 businesses. Prior to her leadership of the Alliance, Sonia served as Director of Community Business in Los Angeles with Mayor Eric Garcetti's Office of Economic Development, CEO of the National Association of Women Business Owners in Los Angeles, and small business advocate in the office of former Governor Gray Davis. Sonia graduated from Yale University and the UCLA Anderson Graduate School of Management. And with that, welcome, Sonia.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be with you, Paul and Lisa. Thanks for having me.
Well, we are so excited that you're here today, too. And as you know, Paul and I are big why believers. So we always start our first question with our guests of why. Why do you do what you do?
I love that about you too. You always have me looking at that essential, that foundational principle of the why. And so I'm happy to share it. I'm so clear on it now after working with you two and talking to you for a while. I'm very clear. My personal why is really to facilitate financial self-determination for as many people as possible throughout the San Fernando Valley region. And our organizational why is definitely doing that very same thing, strengthening the local economy and improving the quality of life in our region. So that would be our why.
Wow. I love what you say, financial self-determination, your personal.
So important, isn't it? And it can be a little bit out of reach or a little bit difficult for people to grab hold of unless they grew up with parents or in a household that understood how to convey those principles. And oftentimes we have folks who just didn't grow up understanding that. And so it's really important to be able to share that with people so they can enter into that and make a better legacy for their families.
Yeah. Sonia, talk a little bit about the purpose of the Economic Alliance and what it does for the community. That's something that would be important for our audience to understand. I mean, we work with nonprofit leaders. You're certainly one of the nonprofit leaders in the Valley. So having an understanding of how your alliance fits into the overall broader structure of the Valley would be important.
Absolutely. So, the Valley Economic Alliance, our purpose is really to engage the stakeholders in the region, whether they be businesses or residents, and really pull together to improve the economy in the region and to just make a better quality of life. And that touches on so many different issues, but essentially it comes down to a couple of things. It comes down to helping support our local businesses to make sure that we retain as many jobs as possible and prevent the displacement of jobs and businesses from the 5-city San Fernando Valley region. So that region is Burbank, Calabasas, Glendale, the San Fernando Valley region of the city of Los Angeles, and the city of San Fernando. So to retain jobs and businesses in that 5-city region and to create new jobs by attracting new businesses into the area, into vacant commercial spaces that may be available. So that's really what the Alliance does. That's our sweet spot, retaining jobs and businesses and creating jobs by attracting new businesses and then letting as many people know as possible about the virtues of the San Fernando Valley.
And you have an educational program too, don't you, that you can share?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, one of the keys to retaining businesses is making sure they have the information needed to increase revenues and to decrease their costs. So we do have an educational series and we help companies to really understand how they can tap into tax credits and energy rebates, renegotiating their financial commitments to help them save on costs. And then on the revenue generating side, this year in particular, we're really getting into helping people understand how to move into e-commerce, how to expand their business through digital marketing, how to grow their revenue base by doing business with government and government agencies and major corporations, as well as exporting to global economies so that they can tap into these new revenue streams.
Wow, exciting stuff.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff.
Yeah, it's really exciting. And it's a great opportunity to network too. When you get on these, we do everything virtually these days. And so we've got these webinar programs and people get on there and they not only get the great information, but they can meet the speakers. And of course, in the chat, they can share their contact information and network with other business owners in the Valley area, which is very valuable. In addition to the educational programming we do via webinars, we also do one-on-one. We sit down with businesses and do an intake and really assess where they are. And maybe there are aspects of their businesses that they didn't even realize they could get help and resources. So we make them aware of different government programs and resources and who's doing what and kind of connect the dots for our local businesses so that they're not going it alone, but they're really placed within an alliance, a network to help them to increase revenues and reduce costs. It's very helpful.
It is very helpful. You know, I came upon the Valley Economic Alliance about 5 years ago in the work I was doing in the city of Glendale and realized that that was such an integral part of the San Fernando Valley. But as you said, Glendale, Burbank, because those were two cities I was working in as well. And it was in many ways regarded as, and still is, one-stop shopping of where you could go to really get a lot of support and resources. What you were talking
Absolutely.
about was a good segue into what I was going to ask is with COVID, have you pivoted? Have you impacted? And has there been what we say in this time for nonprofit, we say a unique service proposition that's been developed. In the for-profit is a unique sales proposition, but it's a USP and looking at, has there been a USP that the Valley Economic Alliance has been able to establish in this last year as a result of our forced evolution
Mm.
navigating through this pandemic?
Right. Oh my goodness. The economy has shifted. The landscape has really changed, and the alliance has changed along with it. And so, of course, like many of the businesses that we serve, we've experienced things like we're working remotely now, so just managing the staff and trying to keep the team together and on the same page, despite being in these different locales. So that's one way that we've learned to pivot and. Uh, Also serving, moving our programs into the virtual environment took some doing. Our client-facing programs as well as our fundraising programs. We did our annual gala virtually this year, which was quite a pivot for us. Um, so there are those kinds of things. One thing that's really interesting is the need for our programs became a lot more evident, I think, to the funding community and to others as well. The work that we do is so important, and especially now. So the case is there and the case is made. And that's a really important shift. One of the challenges, I think, in the COVID environment for us has been just the pressure, the financial pressure that's been put on our business clients, that's been put on the funders that we work with. And so, everybody's operating under a greater degree of stress, of course, and also considering the health concerns. So that's been interesting and challenging for interpersonal relationships. And you really have to take the time. You don't just hang out at networking events any longer and just connect and make small talk. Now you get on a call and you have an agenda, and so it can be it's just a different kind of environment. We're missing the networking and the personal touch. On the upside, though, we're operating more efficiently than ever, using technology to deliver services and programs, and becoming more and more knowledgeable about those and able to pass that information along to local businesses. And and so there have been, some interesting benefits that have come out of it. There's a camaraderie. We're really all in this together, and we're here to help one another and to weather this storm and to thrive. And seeing people in their personal environments, right? You meet their kids, you see their dogs. It's been warmer in a way, where we've been getting to know people in their home environments through video conference. So anyway, but for our unique service proposition, gosh, I would have to say that because we're an alliance of the most influential leaders in the Valley, whether they be government or corporate or nonprofit, we really have a unique knowledge base and a network that can help businesses to solve their problems and capitalize on opportunities. So that's been a really fantastic, unique position that we have as an alliance with our board of 80 of the most impactful, influential leaders, and all working together for the benefit of Valley operating businesses.
Wow. And I'll just say, I know Paul's got a question in there. I just want to tell the listeners that I attended, and thank you very much. I attended your virtual gala, and so well done. There's a lot that we could learn from how the Valley Economic Alliance did their virtual gala, but you certainly checked off that box that when nonprofits said, well, we can't be doing anything during COVID because we can't gather in person, so we can't have a gala. You showed them that we can.
We can. And in fact, we raised just about as much as our in-person galas have raised for the past 23 some odd years. And we netted more than we had in past years because our expenses were less. So it's really interesting how when we're given adversity, we can turn it around to be a strength somehow. And I think business owners really know that, and the ones that really thrive are the ones who are so resilient, and they figure that kind of thing out. So I feel like we can really empathize and we really understand the businesses that we serve because we're a local nonprofit, and we've got to be really scrappy and really smart about what we're doing, just like they do.
Yeah, there's so many lessons, that you conveyed with you moving through this pandemic and how you've had to adapt and then overcome some of the challenges you've had. And we often talk like that, is that you have to adapt, improvise, and overcome. It's a military term, but it really does make sense for the business community to look for examples such as your own on how you've had to do that. Just as interesting, so the pandemic, we're almost a year into this now. Talk a little bit about what you see carrying over into the new normal that you've gained from the pandemic. Part of it was is that you said you could do things virtually now, and uh, you're much more on task, or you're much more focused in a virtual meeting. So talk a little bit about what you see carrying on after we get through the brunt of the pandemic, and we'll be in a new normal. We know that new muscle's been developed, but explain that from the Alliance's standpoint.
Yeah, well, the efficiencies that we've been able to achieve with our board meetings, for example, and committee meetings to which the public is invited, and our events, boy, using video conferencing has been just a real powerful tool. So we don't want to let go of that, because
Mhm.
we cover such a vast region. It's been helpful to get increased participation from folks from Calabasas to Glendale when the meeting is virtual and they don't have to contend with parking and traveling and traffic and such. So that's great. We've also been able to increase, we can have subcommittee meetings in between meetings and have small task forces really tackle problems because they can just hop on a call and then hop back off. So that is something that we've now embedded in our culture. It helps to advance our productivity and our excellence and connectivity and collaboration. So we're going to continue to use those kinds of tech tools to bring people together, to convene thought leaders, and to really advance the work. So that's going to be something that, and we will do some in person when it becomes safe to do that as well. There's nothing that replaces that for sure. So in terms of our business assistance and our meetings and different programs and events, we're going to go to a hybrid model likely, and we'll be able to have offerings for folks that might meet, any of those needs.
Yeah, I think that's so smart. And what we're looking at now, and now that we've been so long into this and realizing what this does overall for our environment too, and having us, obviously there's a hybrid solution, right, in which we can get the best of both worlds, that we can maximize what we can do with our in work, but also we realize remotely how that lends to efficiency. It also lends, to our environment, and having it be better for the environment. When you were talking, I also thought of a question that's really unique to you. I relate to it a little bit, but you have a cross-sector background, and that is, because of the work that you've done in the local government and city, public sector, you have that public sector background. You're working with a nonprofit. I like to call them a for impact. Or the third sector, right? And then your service, those who you serve are business owners, and so the for-profit. I think we're really interested, and I think our listeners would be too, in what do you see as being consistent across all sectors, that you really, like, your background brought to this position, what it is that you see as a common theme and best practice that could be universal cross sector. Is there anything that comes to mind in regard to that, and how your background and it being cross sector has added a lot of value to the Valley Economic Alliance?
Yeah. I'd say it's mission. And it comes down to, I mean, what you two teach, that, mission is really foundational. And it really is. I think that's the common denominator to all the sectors is it's public benefit. It's serving the people. And so whether you're serving them by providing a needed product or service, or you're offering a kind of more of a social service or public amenities, um, or you're coming alongside and supporting a target audience that is in need of really connecting the dots to access different kinds of services like the nonprofit sector does, then it really is about making the world a better place. I mean, it's about impact. And as much public benefit as possible. And there really is crossover. I mean, I really love corporate social responsibility, and you've got the corporations, and they could be looking at how they can be pursuing, while they're seeking to make a profit, how they can leave their communities better than when they, got there, when they started operating there, and how they can uplift their employees and really be about equity and diversity and environmental sustainability as well. And so that's a wonderful nexus from the primarily the private sector lens. And then you've got the social enterprises or the nonprofits that are maybe getting into different kinds of earned income or charging a fee for service so that they can have a sustainable model and not always be beholden to funders, but to deliver services, and then also to look at ways to recoup some of the cost of what they do through fees. So there are those hybrids there, and then there's the public sector, which is really there to make sure that everyone has a fair shot, that the playing field is leveled as much as possible, and that where there are inequities, that we can balance the system out with regulation and legislation. And some would argue that sometimes the public sector goes too far or doesn't go far enough, but the intent is there. And everywhere I've worked, I've seen a real sincerity and a real commitment to making our community work, to making our community a community that really works and works for everyone. So I love that I get to be leading an organization that's very much about that in the Valley.
Well said, Sonia.
Yeah, that's terrific. We met you and had the opportunity to engage with you on a number of occasions, and it dealt with planning. And we have often found with nonprofits that there's a weakness in this area, that they aren't looking out far enough or planning deeply enough or specific enough when it comes to goals and goal setting.
Mm-hmm.
Just talk a little bit about your experience with us working with you on goal setting and the importance it has been to your overall alliance plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting with leaders. An organization can really only go as far as their leader's greatest weakness, and that can hold the whole thing back. And so just having conversations with you where you could just give me that perspective on where are my strengths, and then where do I really need to work on improving so that the whole institution, the whole organism can advance and can advance exponentially. And so for my part, I have, for the longest time, for as long as I can remember anyway, I've been a real idea person. Oh my gosh, if a day goes by without me getting a new idea, maybe hair braiding scheme, some would say, it's an incredible day. New ideas, always coming, always coming, always coming. And then another step in the process is action. So I'm not like folks who sit on the sideline and don't take action. I take a lot of action. And so I keep very busy. And so the question is it strategic action? Well, there's a gap in between idea and action. And that's the gap where smart planning needs to come into play. And so with your strategic way of thinking, you really help shed some light on not only the need for that missing link, but also how to go about doing that, making really measurable goals and planning out, assessing an idea and really gauging how much that idea might cost, not only in terms of cash outlay or financial outlay, but in terms of energy and time and other types of resources and the network, because every action does have some sort of cost, whether it's tangible or intangible, and it really does keep an organization from doing something else. So you really have to be careful before taking action to determine if an idea is not just a good idea, but it's a great idea, or it's the right idea for the right time. So I will forever be grateful for the perspective that you've helped me to gain in honing my skill in that area and my planning skills. That was one of the wonderful things.
Thank you for sharing, because we haven't
Yes.
heard it, I think, that particular way between the bridge. Planning is the bridge between the idea and the action. And
Indeed.
and hearing that back from you in regards to the value of it. And Paul's right. That's my experience in working for or with nonprofits for the last 20 years in executive management. It does seem to be a lot of focus on fundraising, always. A lot of focus on we need to raise funds ASAP. Very little attention paid to planning. And it has a lot to do with that we're just not, we haven't practiced that skill set. We haven't developed that a lot. We haven't spent a lot of time doing that. And it is something that our corporate sector for sure has spent a lot of time doing when they started, in the 90s, implementing strategic planning initiatives and so on. But there's a wealth of benefit there to the
Mm.
nonprofit. And I know we're coming up to our end time in a few minutes, but Paul said something that it inspired me to think about too, vision, because you said in one of the answers a few minutes ago, talking about cross-sectorally, the commonality is mission driven, which is definitely a concept that cross sectors have used for a number of years. In the last decade, there's been an emphasis on vision, and that in part was inspired by Simon Sinek, who, Sonia, we're big fans of Simon Sinek, and start with why and find your why and implement your why and live your why. But it's because it makes a lot of sense, and because we've also seen businesses and organizations thrive, which we define as perpetually maximizing your potential. There's so much clarity that comes from vision and knowing where you're headed. And so I think it would benefit our listeners too, in exciting them just to hear about what are some of the thoughts that you have for the future regarding the Valley Economic Alliance and where you're going and where you're headed, or what you want to be and grow into. We'd love to hear.
Absolutely. Oh, thanks for asking that, because in times like these that are challenging, it's so inspiring to think of the future. And so at the Alliance, one of the things that's really important for us is not only help companies to remain resilient through the current realities, but to plant the seeds now for the recovery that is to come.
Mhm.
So we're thinking ahead. We're trying to get ahead of where are the opportunities going to lie, and how can we help companies to pivot and to be prepared to capitalize on some of those opportunities, whether it be global, exporting globally, or procurement and contracting opportunities coming down the road with the Olympics coming in, the World Cup and the Super Bowl, and all these great opportunities. So really being very future oriented and looking at the landscape and identifying opportunities for our business clients and for us as an alliance, to always be looking at how we can improve and excel still more. We'd really like to look at how we can be a facilitator of new businesses coming into the vacant office spaces, vacant retail, the change of use of retail to housing, looking at our real estate footprint throughout the region and seeing how we can better deploy those resources and come along the private sector and the public sector, and thinking about how we can revitalize our inner city areas, and strengthen our burgeoning, growing metropolis areas as well. So it's a very exciting time. I understand that the Chinese character for danger is the same character that connotes opportunity, and it really depends on the context. And I think that's what's before us as a Valley region and before us as the Alliance, taking what may be uncertainty and turn it into opportunity that works for everyone. So I'm very excited about the future and eager to work with everyone. And I hope that people will definitely keep in touch with us and be a part of the Alliance.
Yeah, well, thank you. I love ending on that note, because the more people we talk to like you, the more that we know that the boom is coming. It's going to happen. And now's the time to prepare and plan for that so that you can maximize your potential when the boom happens, you and your business. So that's a wonderful ending thought. And we'll ask you too, contact information that you can share with our listeners. Where can they go to find out more information about the Valley Economic Alliance or contact you?
Absolutely. So listeners can do both, can learn more about the Alliance and contact me through our website at thevalley.net. And I encourage you to sign up for our email updates so that you can get the latest information on what we're working on and what others are working on to help advance the economy and provide small business resources for the San Fernando Valley region. So thevalley.net. And we have members of our board of directors, but we don't have paying members of our organization. There are no dues. We have sponsors, and we are so grateful to our investors and our board members who fund our organization. And business owners and residents can partake of our committee meetings and get involved with our programs at no cost to them. So that's a great resource that we encourage people to take advantage of at thevalley.net.
Excellent. Thank you
Terrific.
so much.
Yeah,
My pleasure.
what a great conversation with you, Sonia. I mean, just a lot of lessons learned, and especially for our nonprofit leaders, there's just a lot of value in what you were able to convey today. Thanks so much for that.
Wow, I'm so glad. Thanks for the opportunity and for just being great colleagues and friends in this journey. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's great. All right, Paul, I know you want to share just before we sign off in a minute or so, share some final thoughts.
Yeah, I do. And Lisa brought this up. Look, you should, from a business owner standpoint, you should be positioning yourself now to take advantage of what we see to be explosive economic activity in the second half of this year. There is so much pent up demand that it's going to be taken advantage of come July and going forward from there. So one of the ways you can do that is become a chamber member if you aren't. And the chamber sponsors the small business roundtable. That's the second Friday of every month from 7:30 to 9. I co-host that with Paul Butler, who's the co-owner of New Leaf Training Development. And the roundtable is an opportunity for chamber business owners to get together, listen to a subject matter expert for 10 or 15 minutes, tee up a topic that's relevant to your business, and it will toss out some challenges that you may be having. Then you have the opportunity to discuss it with peers and really get down to some solutions that you can take action on today. If you aren't a chamber member, you can't take advantage of this. So I encourage you, if you aren't, join the chamber. The chamber has a lot of great programs that they've rolled out recently. One is a 401k. Another one is health insurance for employees. So there's a lot that the chamber's doing for you, and it's a great organization to be a member of. So take advantage of the Small Business Roundtable. We'll see you 7:30 on the second Friday of every month. And I assure you, you'll have great value coming out of that session.
Yes, and Sonia, we want to thank you so much for your time and imparting great wisdom to our listeners. And we're excited to see you and the Valley Economic Alliance grow. And we encourage listeners to visit our website at onetruenorthcoach.com. We have a COVID-19 resource page that we created about a month into the pandemic with a lot of resources, helpful slides, things that we aim to assist you as you navigate through this. And there's also testimonials there. You can find out more about who we are, what we do, and how we serve. And also on our homepage is a little bit more information regarding what Paul started off this conversation with, is the business health checkup opportunity. We really encourage you to take advantage of this. There are no strings attached. This is an opportunity for you to have a conversation with us, for us to send you and to have a dialogue about some really great questions that will inspire you to think about your business as is and your business as what it could be. So take us up on our offer, contact us and have a conversation with us. And also visit our One True North Facebook and LinkedIn pages. That's where we post weekly articles, and sign up for being on our newsletter as well. Thank you so much. We look forward to seeing you all next week. And until then, be safe.